Hi everyone, this is Ben, and we're back in the studios today again at Great Legal Marketing, and I have as my guest a very special friend of mine, John Fisher of New York. John's a medical malpractice attorney. He's actually came down to the Northern Virginia, DC area, had some expert interviews to do, and he called us up and had a chance to come on over. I'm glad you could get here.
Thank you. Thanks.
You know, you've just released a second edition of your book, The Power of a System, How to Build the Injury Law Practice of Your Dreams. Tell me a little bit about the book. What's it all about?
Well, the idea for the book really began. It's about building a law practice, but not just theoretical concepts that you learned in law school. It's really about technical, managerial, and the entrepreneurial aspects. So from nuts to bolts, A to Z, everything that I've learned, all the mistakes I've made, everything's given there. This is an 80,000 word book, and I've tried not to hold anything back. It took me 2 years to write this book.
It really looked like, to me, when I first read it, and you let me see the galley proofs a year ago, the first edition was that this really was your inside manual. It's the actual manual, really, that you use in the practice. Is that right?
That's right. Basically, what happened here, in June of 2010, I got fired from my law firm where I'd worked at 14 years, and it sort of dawned on me at that time, I didn't have any idea how to own or operate my own law firm. So what do? I've got nothing, no desk, no computer, nothing. So what I decided to do in December of 2010, I just started writing this book. And it was in a journal, all handwritten, and I kept writing and writing. And then the publisher finally said to me, you got to stop, we just got to publish this sucker. And I said, okay, but give me a little bit more time. And I kept writing over 2 years. Then finally we have this.
You know, you like many lawyers, you left a firm that you had been in, and you find yourself, okay, now I have to not only be a lawyer, but run the firm. As you were creating your own internal systems, I think people will be curious to know, how did you even know? Who did you look to? Who did you read? How did you start to develop these systems?
Well, here's the beauty of it. The fact is the systems were in my head. It's not like I really needed to learn. And a lot of the stuff, for example, the part 3 of the book is about entrepreneurial aspect of running your firm. And who did I read? You. I read you, Dan Kennedy, some of the greats, and that's all in there. And it's backed up by support quotes and all of that. But in terms of the technical and managerial aspects, that was in my head. And the problem that I thought was, okay, I know this stuff, but I got to get it on paper, and I got to make sure my team knows what our policies and systems are, because if it's just inside my head, it's worthless.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because that is a challenge for most lawyers, even as they learn systems, develop systems, but getting the whole team on board. So how have you been able to do that?
You know, one of the things that Jim Collins writes in his book, Good to Great, is that it's not about teaching policies to people and sort of reforming people into good employees. It's about getting the right people on the bus from day one.
We've discovered that too.
So really, when you say...
Not easy, but if you do it right.
How do you instill these policies? The fact of the matter is, if it's not the right person for your team, these policies are not going to work. You need to get the right people on the bus. These policies are something that I know my team knows now. They read the book. Some of them read it every single day. So when a topic comes up, they don't have to search for the answer. And a book that I love is called The Effective Executive by Peter Drucker, because he has a chapter in there where he states that the top executives don't really make many decisions throughout the course of the day. And the reason for that is when they're confronted with a new question or issue, they think to themselves, what's the likelihood that this same issue is going to come up again and again? And then what they do is they develop policies and systems to address it so they don't have to make a decision the next time it comes up. And that's the whole idea behind this book.
And that's a great way actually to go and to create a training manual, because it can be arduous to sort of sit down with a blank piece of paper and go, okay, now we're going to create the manual for the office. You know, someone leaves their firm, on Monday they're starting their own practice, blank sheet of paper, what do we do? And I really like that. As problems come up or issues come up, you say to yourself, okay, that's something that's going to happen again. Let's write down the system, and today we've got, page 1. You don't have to start at 300 pages or 80,000 words all at once. That's very cool. Tell us a little bit about your practice right now. What are you doing mainly? What does it look like on the inside?
I'll handle that in a second, but one thing I want to address before we go on. There are people who will rebel at your policies and say, look, I'm not a believer in systems or policies. I've had employment agencies send people to us, and the employment agencies refuse to deal with me anymore because we don't like having rules. We don't like policies.
Right, just send them the book
but
first.
You know the great thing about this? This gets those people out of your team. So if they don't like policies and they're not into this approach, you don't want them in the first place. So it's just a great way of sort of ferreting out people you don't want.
So now I'm curious, skip my other question, we'll come back to that. So as part of the hiring process now, let's say, in 3 months you're looking for the next employee. Do you make them go and read the book first?
Before people even interview for the position, they have to read the book. And here's the critical thing.
It might be the first book some people have read in a year.
Well, they're reading the book, but here's the critical thing. They have to know our purpose, values, and mission. Right. Without that, forget it. So the interview would include, tell us, what is our mission? What are our core values? And recite them to me. And because I want them to memorize that. And if they haven't bothered to do that, they're not right for our team.
And a lot of people who just heard you say that would think, well, gee, I just won't have that many people applying for the job. But really, that's the goal. Because you want to only be sitting in front of someone who's invested. They've read the book. They've spent time learning their core values. They're interested enough in your firm already. Okay, now let's talk. Now you get to come in and meet John. That's a very cool way. When we think about it, it's much like the way we teach marketing in general. Now you're just marketing for the next employee. That's cool. So tell us a little bit about the type of law you're practicing now, and what does it actually look like on the inside?
And I'm going to answer that, but the key principle here is the key things that I've tried to do with my practice is 3 things. Yeah. Specialize, delegate, and market. Market, I mean marketing. And here's the thing. With specializing, what I do is medical malpractice almost exclusively. But even within medical malpractice, what I do is birth injury, cerebral palsy cases. So I created a niche within a niche. And the reason I did that, in my market, which is the Hudson Valley of New York, between New York City and Albany, it's about 142 miles. I'm the only guy doing medical malpractice for injury victims in that area. So I've created a niche where I'm the go-to guy for medical malpractice. So specializing, which is a word you're actually not supposed to use in New York, but specializing is essential to success as a lawyer, in my opinion. The second thing that I believe in is delegation. And what that means is delegate everything you possibly can. Other than trials and depositions, right. I delegate everything. I don't want to even see a discovery response. I don't want to get involved in phone calls, emails, any of that stuff. Third, and you know this well, marketing. Marketing is the number one priority. I'll share a story with you. When I was at my old firm, we'd have partner meetings where we'd all sit around the table, we'd discuss our cases, and we'd project the cash flow for the next year. How much money are we going to make? What cases do we have scheduled for trial? And we'd go around the table, and attorney A might have 2 cases, attorney B would have 1 case, and what I realized was, these are world-class lawyers, but if you don't have clients, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Marketing is everything. And trying to create a system like you've developed that's outside the box and unique and different is crucial.
Okay, so now how many staff, how many people do you have working for you now?
1 receptionist, 1 paralegal. We outsource a ton.
That is so interesting and so cool, because I know you really only get involved in what the rest of us would say very, very complex cases.
Extremely complex. The type of cases I handle, no lawyer in the world wants. They're, maybe it's always involving a significant, substantial injury, but the big difference is it's highly technical, highly complex, nobody wants a piece of it, and it's going to be very expensive. And the reason I love that is because I'm not fighting other lawyers for these cases. They're fighting to get rid of their cases like this, which works for me.
So who should read the book now?
Well, I'll tell you another little story here. Yesterday I was at a deposition in Cooperstown, New York, and I was with a young attorney who looked like he was in his mid to late 20s, probably just out of law school. And he came out, we were walking out of the deposition in the parking lot, and he said to me,
he's on the other side of you?
Yeah, he's on the other side. He's representing a doctor, and he said to me, damn, you know a lot about medicine. And he says, do you have a medical background? I said, no, I don't. And we're just walking, and I picked up the book, and I said, you know what, I want you to have this. And he says, why would you do this for me? And I said, because when I was your age, I wish someone had done this for me. And really, that's how I feel about it. This is not completely altruistic on my end. I need these policies in writing for my own practice. And not only that, I review and study them every single day because I need to reinforce in my mind the policies that I'm supposed to be following, because sometimes I forget. I have bad days. But the fact is, if I can help out just one or two attorneys with these policies, then it's a win for everybody.
That's the same way I feel. John Fisher, the author of The Power of a System. We're going to make this book available at the Great Legal Marketing web store, and we'll have the URL at the bottom of the screen here. John, thanks so much for visiting.
Thank you.
It's good to see you.
Appreciate it.